there is what they call, I don't know, Chinese square being placed at the university. My teachers, Mwarimu Magdalene, Marofo, Gadharo, Fani, and my geography teacher, Mr. Derry and Bogwa, Bonnie, and others who included Jane and Washira, who did not want to be mentioned. The media fraternity that has created a platform for my popular publishing of my work. They include Gerard Getao Gushu, Joka of The Nation, Jiro Kagodo of The Standard, Marete and Kainga, and Masharia Munene and Felix Kerodo. Friends, I wish to mention Deborah Kioi, Rahab, Garoya, another one who has gone to be with the ancestors, Hinga and Rosa Kereka. Then there are the American Friends of Kenya, who include Silva Wayne, Francine and Bill Adams, and Father David of the Black Flyers. Then there is Nairi of the 5 colleges, Beth Ginepro, who took me to the sites which showed me the history of industrialization in the valleys of Connecticut. She also took me to butterfly sites where butterflies have been preserved in the city of South Hadley. She took me to many places which included churches, branches, and so many other things. Then there is Carl Coban, Kalia, Lida Pickborn, and Preston Smith, who during the COVID time would do shopping for me. Then there is Shauna K, Hori Hanson, and Roletta Rose, who supported me very much. And of course, they are my colleagues at Domestic Violence Shelter, who, for whatever they did or not for whatever they did. Editors and publishers include Angela, Juma, Matuda, Kainga, Frances Nyamchom, and of course the Daily Nation and Standard newspapers. Then I have community and age mates who include ladies like Mudhoni Getere, Margaret Wafita, Jacinta Mwenda, and the other. And I cannot forget Jerry Mudhe and Mudhe Kafado for whatever they did me in my struggle as a single parent. And my data sources, Ignatius Gashero, Shoshoaga Kumo, Philomena Bari, Gojiriwa Bari, Frederick Dawa, and all the fraternity from Kamukoji. So, there are stories that used in terms of community, there is, my IDS workers, Professor Patley Karira, Professor Kamau, and many others, and Kamau, who also sponsored this symposium. Among the community members are Karaja Wangeve, Wamaga, who went to be with their ancestors, and Ninawa Jenny, who used to tell me, Doma dokanaye kuhoya shube. Go to school so that you not ask money for salt. Then there was Tata Firevi, Doma, like your father, who was always leading in school. My uncle, who always celebrated my achievement, na Mwakiwa Ihega. I also remember another person who went to be with the ancestors, the late Father Mokoi, for his message. The Umegoda twahũririe kahũa na ndũngĩtua ũhe mwana arĩe ũhũne. That is, our land, we have filled it with coffee, but we cannot give it to children and get satisfied. Another person who went to be with the ancestors, the late Father Gashunga, about the need to be modest while addressing issues and the need to de-escalate rather than flare issues. This message of Father Gashunga resonates with us today because of the way we are not being modest while handling issues, and the way we are escalating issues and failing them. And then Dr. Reverend Washege, the need for radical acceptance and identity. I could have moaned and groaned about my problems, but I chose one thing, not to moan and groan. I also chose the path that is less traveled by, I would say, the path less traveled. I can continue narrating my problems at Medha Kagoni, Lingoge, without security or safety nets, but I chose a path supported by my sisters, brothers, nieces, and nephews, sometimes who never understood. I also remember, like Wairegi, when we were in the board, they didn't understand why I was telling them on the need for education. Now they have seen dams. I told them to think of buying land at Goigwa, Mangu Investment, because Nairobi, Thika was expanding. But share to me, that you brief women the next day. What I would like you to take away from my work, African women are not victims. They should not be viewed from a deficit model. The economy needs to be of circulation, not manipulative or extractive or exploitation. Community interests need to be balanced with individual interest in the spirit of Utu Ubuntu. Healing is a slow process that needs to be based on the principles of nature, learning lessons from chameleons and the tortoise. I said there is so much anthropane caused by economy, anthropane caused by war, anthropane caused by what people call goons or whatever they call them. There is so much pain, but we can only heal using the principles of nature or learn lessons from chameleon and the tortoise. And we should understand the concept of anthropane and replace it with the concept of poverty in socioeconomic analysis. Because what is the local definition of pain in your local language? We talked of pain that's caused by human being, and also understanding that we human beings are not disposable or subjected to minimization or maximization or being laid off because we need to reduce costs of the corporates. Understanding that the environment is our common home, like Pope Francis insists. Understanding that a seed does not land where it is thrown. You can throw a seed, but it can be blown by the wind and taken anywhere in the world, and it will start, grow, and flourish. Whoever is in control, whether it grows, sprouts, is not in our hands. That every human being has the spirit to thrive, grow like the tiny animal that thrives on dry woods, represented by the logo of the flower thriving on concrete on my book. The fireside is an important site of knowledge. There were stories that I read. Who will bail the cat? And this was a story based on rats, where the rats were debating, how do we bail the cat so that when he comes to the sitting room, we shall hear him and run away. So who among you is willing to take the daring step and bail the cat? Then there is the story of Kagogo Nahiti, told by Aunt Paulina. This story really makes my granddaughters laugh, because after a feast, the hyena decided not to go to the toilet because whatever he had eaten was too sweet. So what happens? He constipated, and the kagogo or the crow is the one that saved him. Then after that, the hyena did not take care of the crow. So the crow flew away, and one time when they met, the hyena asked the crow, "You are looking so beautiful, where did you go?" And the whatever it's called, the crow told him, "I went to the heavenly bliss." Then the hyena insisted on being taken to the heavenly bliss, and then all the hyenas, they assembled and they were taken to the heavenly bliss, and then the crow released its wings, and that was it. You can imagine why the hyena reaps. Then there is the childhood beetle game, whereby we would tie the beetle with a string, then we would sing the song, Muge wakwa wedhoadhoe. And then when there was a sunshine, the beetle would fry, but would never leave us. So in this case, we tie ourselves in so many situations like the beetle without knowing who is tying us. Then for acculturation, we used to sing the songs like Mushere ni mwega ni uriagwo na gishiko riria gotua kuria negereria gishiko. That rice is good, it is eaten with a spoon. When I want to eat, bring a spoon. So those who are talking about decolonization, they must start understanding how it happened. My principles, I won't tell you, but my turning points were my mother's teaching at the fireside of accountability. In the evening, my mother would always ask us, Mwatida mugekatia. That teaching of accountability is the basis of feminine economy. My father's critique to my first gender paper were influenced by Western paradigm of theory. He read it on the Standard of Nation that fathers don't take girls to school, and he was very mad with me. Then whenever I would call my father, he would always answer, "De kahoaini, I'm at the coffee time, I'm at the coffee farm." This made me to reject donor aid that financed research. Speech at my stepbrother's funeral, that my waboi nemuheani kiade, that she gave human beings a shoulder to cry. Then the piercing look silent demeanor, and deep questions of my grandmother, Josephine Nyambura. She taught me importance of self-examined life, the analytical spirit and resistance of my maternal grandmother, whom people nicknamed her as Demenge, one who cuts, with her song Bia Shokide, When Money Alive. My daughter's poem, Structured Living, which I have reported in the book Women and the Urban Economy, and my siblings' patience, generosity, and grace, as well as radical love. I've also been inspired by the living archive on the Matatu canvas, sayings and nature. Lived experiences are sources of data. For example, in one Matatu I saw, it was written, Vumilia kama bibi ya mlevi. That is, be patient and persevere like the wife of a drunkard. And another one, if everyone is doing it, why not join them? Or the song, Maishano Maya. So, all these are my canvas. That's what I try to interpret, and I have learned about institutions of hope, radical courage and determination, radical love and solidarity, working hard, an about spirit, and there is need to learn from the kitchen. That is, we should kitchenize our boardrooms. Equality between men and women or between races should not be mean like the submersion, like the situation where the river water enters the Indian Ocean and becoming part of the broken system. Those of us who have observed whether race or gender equality, they should see how we lose in the broken system, like the masculine system, when we want to work by their rules. Equality means, as a geographer, from the point of view of the Agujas Bay in South Africa, where the Indian Ocean meets the Atlantic, which means we stand bega kwa bega. That is, instead of competing, why don't we bring our warm current, like the Indian Ocean, stand next to each other, like at Agujas Bay in South Africa. And also, the research never stops. And one of the questions that I'm asking myself, are we building cities of the soul or cities of stone? And finally, after meeting Shosho Wagakumo last time, the topic I'm going to write about is the salt on the land. What happens when the salt arrived on the land? So thank you very much for listening to me. I don't want you asking Josie Saliva question, what are the key things that you have learned? I don't know what is the context of Ubuntu. Why don't you go and read books? Be active listeners. Listen to everybody. Listen to a sentence in the book before you draw your conclusions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doc. Just don't leave yet. A round of applause for Dr. Mary Njeri1960 there. Yeah, she's a very solid scholar. We are celebrating the legacy of Dr. Mary Njeri1960, her enduring legacy in Ubuntu development studies. And we call this celebration from the margins to the center. Now, Doc, I'm not going to ask you any question, but I want you, the day you gave your valedictory lecture at the University of Nairobi last week, you visited Broadcasting House, Kenya Broadcasting Corporation, KBC, and we were having a conversation, and we walked with you from Broadcasting House to the University of Nairobi, and you said, you summarized for me the principles of Utu feminism. I don't want you to say all the principles, that I want you to mention just 3 principles of Utu feminism you shared with me on KBC. I want that knowledge that you gave me, I want you to share with the participants this afternoon.
One is food security. That was for self-reliance. In every home, there was a granary. The other one is peace and harmony in homes. The other one is connecting communities, connecting regions. The other one is socialization. Those were the functions of women. And if you read another person who has gone to be with the ancestors, Margaret Ogola, she shows how the connection, the way the role of women connected from one generation to the next, that is in the river and the source, and in the book, in the name by Apollo, you can see the way the woman connects even beyond the rivers and the name. So in my case, I don't see gender as a binary, that there is a patriarch who is oppressing who. I see as ideological, that people have ideologies they believe in, people have roles, but when you define people as a binary or now with indefinite, I see it more as ideological, that each one of us has something to bring. In the Gikuyu Rurasho system, the man brought the meat. That's why he offered, Wairegi, you can help me, Ruhoge, Aganahigo. And then the woman prepared the ushuru, which is the grains. So they exchanged, there was reciprocity. So it was not just about patriarchy. Let's go back and look at the real issues that existed. As I exit academy, I want people not to be just looking at face value, but to look at what lies beyond what you are seeing.
Great.
Yeah, that's what I would like when exiting the academy. As I said, I'm a student of social work, and I'm learning a lot from social work, and it's really helpful for me to understand many social issues from my proposed paper that schools should even have social workers.
Yes.
Coffee peasant and small fishermen and everybody should be under the direction of
Don't leave the last one, Doc. You told me also on that day, and I think you capture it in some of your writings, that what sustains the informal sector is you You know, you intrigued me when you say that what you described as the bank and the insurance, it is not the bank in the orthodoxy way that we know it, but you say that there is a bank and the insurance that sustains the informal sector. I want you to touch on those two aspects of the informal sector, just very briefly, 2 minutes.
One is self-reliance, and the other one is trust and radical hope. Can you imagine your kibada has been destroyed, and then your child was to get food from there, and tomorrow you will wake up and move on. The trust you have from everybody who supports you. For example, I'm glad, like Absa Bank, I was surprised that, among all the corporates I have worked for or have worked with, Absa Bank is the one which sent me some condolence. Absa Bank is, when I told them that I'm being celebrated, they accepted to be part of it. So we need people to realize who is on their side and who is not, who is extracting and who is not. So can we support those institutions that are on our side? Like now, they are passing a SACCO bill. What the hell are they doing? Destroying the very institutions that have supported the matatu industry, whom we love to hate, without understanding that they wake up at 3 a.m. and retire at 11.
At 11 in the evening.
If we all worked like matatu drivers, we would have a better Kenya.
A round of applause for Dr. Mary njeri1960. Yeah, she intrigued me that afternoon as we were walking to be hosted by Professor Paul Kamau from the University of Nairobi, director. He's here. And she told me that, Hainga, do you understand? Do you know what sustains the informal sector? And she spoke of trust. And she spoke of relationships. That somebody, a farmer in Kakamega, where Hainga comes from, you actually put your mangles in a matatu. You are not there. But you believe that there's somebody in Nairobi who is going to receive those mangoes and take them to the market, and the money will be sent to you. Trust and relationships. Wow. That is the bank. I don't know, trust is the bank, and the relationship is the insurance. That was very intriguing, but I loved that from Dr. Mary njeri1960. A round of applause for Dr. Mary njeri1960. Now, I'm going to invite the next panel, and the overarching theme of our discussion this afternoon is urban economies, trade, and the informal sector. And I know Dr. Jacqueline Kamau is in the house. Jacqueline, you can actually move onto the podium. I want to find out, is Dr. Mofe Seira from Lagos? Is it Lagos? From Nigeria. Are you around, Professor? Our technical teams, let us find out if the Nigerian scholar is joining us virtually. Dr. Yebu Thole, our online team, the technical people. Do we have Dr. Mofe Seira from Nigeria online? Can you check for us? Check for us if Dr. Come and sit. Come. Can you find out, as they do? I know Professor Gailey Presby was actually ready. So can we go to Professor Gailey? Professor Gail Presby. Can we go to Gail Presby?
Hello.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you very well. Can you hear us from Nairobi?
Oh, yes. Yes, I can, and I've really been enjoying the conference.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to give you 7 minutes.
Okay. And I think to make it simple, I'm just going to speak and not bother with any slides. And I wanted especially to talk about the contributions of Dr. Mary Njeri Kinyanjui to the field of philosophy, especially intercultural philosophy and philosophy of feminism. I'm a professor of philosophy from University of Detroit Mercy here in Detroit, Michigan, USA. And I had the pleasure of being at the ECAS in Edinburgh with Martina Kopf. She mentioned that is the time we learned about your philosophy. I've very much enjoyed having Dr. Kinyanjui as a speaker, a Zoom speaker for my students. And this semester, right here in the middle of summer, I'm teaching philosophy of feminism. And out of 25 students, 5 students chose Dr. Kinyanjui to be the topic of their major term paper. So she really made an impression on my students. Out of the maybe 100 feminist philosophers we studied, they wanted to know more about her. So why? Why is her work so important? And I want to say it's important because as a field, philosophy, we need to develop intercultural philosophy. So what is this intercultural philosophy? To refer to a definition by Franz Wimmer, philosophy is culturally situated, and culture and cultures must be consciously kept in view as the context of philosophizing. Not just cultures, but also geography, historical time frame, all of that. And intercultural philosophy is the endeavor to give expression to the many and often marginalized voices of philosophy in their respective cultural contexts, and thereby to generate a shared, fruitful discussion, granting equal rights to all. So I've been very interested in this approach to philosophy, and I was able to explore it earlier. I did spend 3 years in Kenya at University of Nairobi. That was in the 1990s. I had a chance to work with a Professor Henry Odera Oruka, who was having a project called Sage Philosophy. He wanted to go into the rural areas of Kenya and interview the wise elders. And I was able to do that with him before his death in 1995. We were able to interview sages together. I've written this book, so since you have booksellers in the audience, I've written a book on Odera Oruka. It came out from Bloomsbury in 2023. One of my chapters is all about women, because I want to say that we interviewed many sages, but not women sages. the voices, the wise voices of elder women were not front center. There was one woman in Adair Aruka's book on sage philosophy, and I wanted to hear their voices. So I was able to go and hear their voices, do some interviews. One of my articles, including the voices of women sages I met, was in this book, a recent book, Rethinking Sage Philosophy, by Kai Kress and Oriari Nyawath, editors. So, but I want to say that one of my key inspiration was to find out that Dr. Mary Kinyanjui had actually been interviewing women. She interviewed many women in her community, and in her book, The Sweet Sobs of Women in Response to Anthropane, she named the women she interviewed because, and she argued they should be named. They shouldn't just be anonymized and summarized as a group. We should get to know who they are. And that was a key idea of Adair Aruka as well. He said he wanted all Kenyans to know the wisdom of the elders from the different rural areas. So any one of the sages may be well known in their neighborhood, in their region, but they weren't known nationally. And Adair Aruka said, these wise elders are the national heritage of Kenya, of all Kenyans. And so he wanted to promote the learning of this wisdom and bring it into the academy which often marginalized the wise elders, the people who are working in the coffee fields and other places. They were marginalized because they didn't have degrees, but we could learn from them. And so that's what she does in her book, and I appreciated it so much. And she names the women and talks about how they address this topic of anthropane. Anthropane, the harm, the hurt that people give each other. So, I mean, there's plenty of pain in the world from different sources. Sometimes it's a natural disaster. Sometimes it may be a human influence national disaster. But sometimes we as people hurt each other, even in the family where people love each other too. How do we deal with this pain? She talks about it as sweet sobs. And the sweet sobs sounds like a contradiction. What does she mean by it? The sobbing, she says, is sweet because it's connected to a philosophy of humanism, Utu, feminism, which is a humanism that sees a benefit to experiencing life, which means experiencing pains as well as healing and joy. So don't deny it all. Feel the pain and then reach out to each other. Get the healing you need after expressing your pain and then feeling joy. So we need all of this in our life. The sweet sobs. This is what she learned from the wisdom of the women that she interviewed. And why were they sobbing? And so it is really heartbreaking to read the list of the kinds of troubles, pain, hurt that women in her community, Kiambu County, where she did her research, what was that sobbing about? It may be a woman feels like she's reduced to a commodity in a process of bride wealth. She may feel like she's reduced to a commodity. She may experience domestic violence and then be expected to remain silent about it. She can't turn to professionals for help, whether it's the police or medical profession or others who may be skeptical, who don't want to deal with domestic violence. Women are sometimes ostracized by their own families. They may be accused of witchcraft. They may be treated as beasts of burden, carrying water and firewood. They may have to give birth too early without the aid of skilled professionals, midwives or others. And male children may be taken to school when the girls are not. When husbands die, there may be some chased from their matrimonial homes. Some are inherited by others against their wishes. These are just some of the lists of the sweet sobs, and I'll tell you, it's very important in a course on philosophy of feminism. There's the topics that are being centered upon by Western feminists, even Western white middle-class feminists. They aren't centering on the same topics that Dr. Kenyon Dewey sees as most important to a feminine Utu, of feminist ethics based on this experience in Kenya, where the goals are, and she's mentioned some of them just recently because you just heard from her, continuity of life, peace and harmony, pain management and control, food self-sufficiency, tolerable work and life, socialization, connecting human beings, thriving. These are the issues important to women of Kenya, and the international feminist community needs to learn, to listen. Don't just have your colonial mentality. Learn from the wisdom of others. And so what is this feminine Utu all about? She says Utu is a Swahili word meaning personality or sensibility. So a feminine Utu is a feminine humanism in some sense. It's about creating an ideological and philosophical methodology of managing everyday pain. And she refers to this word muntu, or human being, and talks about how at the time of birth, what first happens is someone is a human being, and then next they are gendered. Next you say it's a boy or it's a girl. Now she notes that in traditions she's from,
Prof, I'll give you 3 more minutes. Prof, I'll give you 3 more minutes.
Thank you so much. If it's a boy, those who hear the news ululate and make shouts 5 times. And if it's a girl, they do the same 3 times. And she said, well, you might wonder, why only 3 times for the girl? Why 5 times for the boy? That's a good question. But, she says, regardless of that, there is this idea of humanism. Feminine Utu is first about being human, and then about your gender. Are you a boy or a girl? And then there is space and time. So the names in the Kikuyu language are then related to space and time. Njeri, which is her own name, means outsider. Nyanyeto means one who journeys. Names refer to place, space, and circumstances in which a child is born. Now, this topic of Utu is very important. A philosophy of Utu would realize that humans are essentially moral and rational beings. This humanity and morality are expressed in our actions and behavior. Recognizing the value of every human being encourages us to show respect to all. And Dr. Kinyanjui is drawing upon this concept to describe the feminine Utu she found in Kenyan women. She's suggesting the women she met and interviewed exhibited remarkable levels of Utu. She considers them as practicing a humanistic philosophy called Utu. It is not a philosophy created by one person. It is a philosophical attitude and set of ideas embraced by a community. We can recognize their cultivation of certain attitudes towards life as a philosophical approach to life. And the last thing I want to mention is the importance of narrative. And I saw Dr. Kinyanjui using so much narrative in the talk we just heard from her. She talked about the people in her life and the things they said to her at certain points of time in her life. It's the story of her life, and in fact, when you read her books, she generously shares her life and the insights she got from specific times and places and people in her life. And that's a good corrective to philosophy, especially Western philosophy, which can be so abstract and actually prides itself on some universalism abstracted from anybody's concrete life. But this narrative approach to philosophy and wisdom has been recommended by various feminist philosophers as a corrective.
Yes, you
And
can
so
conclude. Yeah.
she's
No, you can.
a good example of that.
No, I'll give you 1 minute to conclude, Prof. I'll give you 1 minute to conclude.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. So I was going to quote Anna Gottlieb, who said, theorists engaged in narratively based moral scholarship take stories to be foundational for how we view the world and our place in it, arguing that they are the means through which we can make ourselves morally intelligible to ourselves and others. Margaret Walker, another feminist philosopher, talked about we need to know the decisions, moral decisions of women in non-ideal environments, in contrast to mainstream moral philosophizing, which focuses on impartiality, distance, and universalized ability. And so I just want to commend Dr. Kinyanjui for her work, to thank her for how she's helped me and my students. And I want to say that the world of feminist philosophy is all the richer for learning about feminine Utu from her and the women in her community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Gail Presby there. She says that she understands the writings of Dr. Mary Njeri Kinyanjui from the standpoint of feminist philosophers. That's what she says. And she says, of course, she's worked in Kenya before. She was here in the 1990s when you had that famous Kenyan professor who came up with the idea of sage philosophy. Professor Gail Presby from Detroit, America, thank you very much. Don't go. I want to acknowledge the presence of Professor Paul Kamau, from the Institute of Development Studies, the University of Nairobi, where Dr. Mary Njeri1960 taught last before she left the lecture halls of universities in Nairobi. Professor Paul Kamau is the Director of Research at the Institute of Development Studies at the University of Nairobi. He's present in this hall. Professor, thank you very much for gracing this occasion. I want to invite Dr. Alicia. You're up next. After that, we have Janet Kimeto. And while still at that, I want to acknowledge also the presence of Professor Martina Koff from the University of Vienna, Austria. She's joining us. I want also to acknowledge the presence of Atunga Atuti, also joining us virtually. Thank you very much, and each and every participant, those ones who are following from Nairobi and from other parts of the world, thank you very much. Dr. Alicia, I'll give you 7 minutes. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm not a doctor yet. Hopefully a year from now I will be. Yes, my name is Alicia Hauser. I'm a PhD student at the University of Kansas in the US. I wanted to start by thanking Dr. Kinyanjui for inviting me to participate in this symposium, especially given the fact that we have never had the pleasure of meeting. I added Dr. Kinyanjui on LinkedIn last November and sent her a message telling her how much her work meant to me. She replied with care and attention and an invitation to participate in this symposium. That alone, I think, speaks to the kind of scholar she is, one rooted in community and committed to bringing together people who care about transforming urban livelihoods. I would much rather be there in person with you all in Nairobi, but I appreciate the opportunity to join from afar, and thank you, Juma, for coordinating across time zones. I first encountered Dr. Kinyanjui's work about this time last year, more than 6 months into my field work for my dissertation about women claiming urban space in the Little Urban Center of Moshi, Tanzania. I had started this work not intending to focus on women in the informal sector, but as I started my daily walks of the city, it quickly became undeniable which spaces women were occupying. Of course, I found women everywhere, in markets, at the bank, behind the cashier's counter, running businesses, working in government offices. But I was particularly struck by the concentration of women occupying sidewalks in the center of town, right by Standing Cool. Although transportation remains a predominantly male sector, as soon as you leave the walls of Standing Cool, you will find women vendors lining the sidewalk bega kwa bega, selling jeans, underwear, socks, shoes, shirts, anything that you might need for your daily life. Women dominate Moshi's public landscape. As Dr. Kinyanjui has noted, women working in the informal sector have moved from the margins to the center. The observations I had made of women claiming urban space in Moshi and the ways I was thinking about their work as continuing a pre-colonial legacy of non-capitalist economies aligned with what I read from Dr. Kinyanjui. In particular, I now incorporate her concept of solidarity entrepreneurship to describe women's work in Moshi. Dr. Kinyanjui writes about the benefits women experience when they work together. As she says, they share space pragmatically, without fearing competition, seeing the sharing of spaces through group occupancy as providing more gains than losses. This sharing of spaces not only reduces transaction costs, but also bonds them together. This is what I saw as well. Women watch each other's stalls when one has to step away to get a meal, go to the bathroom, check in on their children. And not only do they watch each other's goods, but they actually make sales on behalf of each other. They help each other to get spare change for customers, and they share all kinds of information. One of my questions to women was how they got their space to sell. Most of them told me they had been invited by someone else, usually a female friend or sister or an aunt already working in that space. This person then shared the space with them and taught them the trade. Sellers did not try to lure customers away from one another or to undercut one another. They knew that lowering prices would end up costing all of them. Dr. Kinyanjui describes this as a feminization of the city and argues for policymakers and government officials to recognize the benefits that this kind of indigenous economy brings to African urban centers. I also saw similar demographic developments in the much smaller urban center of Moshi compared with Nairobi, indicating that Dr. Kinyanjui's work has far-reaching applicability for urban centers. Among my informants, 42% were single mothers, and 30% had at least some college education. In countries unable to provide salaried positions, the informal sector is increasingly becoming filled with highly educated and highly skilled individuals. Take Sophia. She studied hotel management at university. She completed her field internship, which in Tanzania is a pretty competitive thing to do. And she briefly worked in Dar until she tired of the grind, as she told me. She said it was better to be self-employed. So she returned to her home region of Kilimanjaro and with the help of an auntie, started selling shoes in Moshi. Her brother provided the capital. Another woman welcomed Sophia into the space where she currently sells, and then a little while later, Sophia in turn invited a friend from her hotel management program to join her. Additionally, 69% of the women I interviewed had been raised in a rural setting. As much research has established, Africa's future will be largely urban, or as John challenged us to start thinking about the expansion of where it is considered urban. This generation of women is merging their rural upbringings with their experience of seeking opportunity in the city, or as Tanzanians say, kutafuta maisha. And they're creating new ways of urban living that defy existing theories of urbanism coming from the global north. Before encountering Dr. Kinyanjui's work, I wondered if the solidarity entrepreneurship I observed was unique to Tanzania. If maybe it could be explained by the socialization of women during Ujamaa, when the rightful place for a woman was in the rural areas, working the land and mothering a household. I still want to explore this thought some more, but I think Kinyanjui makes a compelling argument for as being the driving factor to this kind of cooperative work. I hope that my contributions to the scholarship on urban women in Africa will follow Dr. Kinyanjui's legacy of proving that women belong not on the margins but in the center. Asanteni sote kwa kunikaribisha, nimefurahi kuongea na ninyi. Nawatakia siku njema.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Alicia. Where did you learn your Kiswahili? Where did you learn your Kiswahili? Yes?
Tanzania, the Danish Institute.
You learned it in Tanzania? I think Kenyans will speak better Kiswahili. Why can't you come and learn it from Nairobi?
Nitakuja.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, Dr. there, Dr. Alicia Hossa. Thank you very much. I want to, Kimeto, be on standby. I want to invite Jacqueline, who is with us here. Jacqueline, you want to use the lecture.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Allow me to ride on the established protocols, but of course to recognize Dr. Mary Njeri, a distinguished scholar and a thinker and an intellectual whom I'm proud to emulate. The professors and doctors in the house, IDS, fraternity, I recognize you, the University of Nairobi, and the Consolata family here, of which I am a member, the partners to this event, and the online audience. Allow me to share with you a story in the few minutes that I have. I take you back to the CBD, to this motorbike rider. Let's give him David. We call him David. You have to answer me so that we move together. We call him David. So David is told by a friend, kuna job imetokea. There is a new job opportunity. So it's a global company, they are hiring drivers, and he's onboarded. Fate comes and David knocks Consolata, a lady in the town. So David has his motorbike and his bag, and it's unfortunate, an accident happens. So David is taken to court, there is ADR, the family of Consolata says, we don't want so much, but we want you to meet the bills of this lady. So this is where Jacqueline comes in to talk about the works of Dr. Mary Kinyanjui. So they mobilize each other. A friend starts a WhatsApp group. How many have WhatsApp groups here? Another one goes on social media, talks to the member of parliament to contribute. Another one reaches out to the senator to talk about motorbikes in the county, and that's where the conversation begins. So digital advocacy becomes a pinch of salt. Do I put salt or sugar? Both. A pinch of salt, a pinch of sugar towards policy environment that Dr. Mary Kinyanjui mentioned. It's a negative policy, neglectful policy environment. And that's where I pick it up to talk about policy this afternoon, especially employment policy. So recently in the ILO is a UN agency responsible for labor. They passed a UN convention, C190. This is on slide 5, decent work in the platform economy. Yes, there is a policy at international level, but are we going to localize it? Allow me to refer to page 118 of Dr. Mary Kinyanjui, Work on Women, and she talks about labor relations. What she mentions, this is what I'm talking about. Are we together? Where she mentions Guatio, interpreted as coming together, the Utu Ubuntu philosophy. And people used to work, men used to work, women to work, and we would come together. But what is happening now in the labor sector? Do we have solidarity entrepreneurship, as she talked about, that is driven by positive urbanization, where people come together, pool resources to one person, start your company. Together next time, the next summer, another entrepreneur is born. So those are the policies that we want in place. But before we go there, allow me to mention the next slide. So employment, the projection is that most of our young people are employed in the informal sector. So on this one, what is the scenario of the policies that we have? Or should I have started with the story or Article 41 of the Constitution that allows David to be in a union so that when he's taken to court, he has representation. Also, we have the National Employment and National Policy Strategy. Does it talk about digital employment opportunities? So the digital advocacy that I'm talking about, so despite the presence of these multiple policies, there are concerns about the implementation. This talk has been there that as a country, we have the best policies. Other countries come to benchmark to us and they go and implement, but we don't implement. So this is where, as a researcher, I connect Dr. Mary Kinyanjui's work, her policy recommendations. How then do we bring them so that salaries and remuneration Commission talks about David's salary from a global company. How much is he paid? What is the commission that he will get? We have other agencies under the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. We have National Employment Authority. We have the Committee on Labor. Where was the committee when David was fundraising? They reached out on social media platforms, so it is there. But how can we make all this digital advocacy to be formalized in our policies? Was there social protection for David or for Consolata? Yes, there could be, but is it sufficient? Those are the questions we are asking. So we are still faced by high levels of unemployment, and in the informal sector, you get work today, casual work, tomorrow you don't get, another day there is kabarua. That is underemployment that is there. Piecework jobs. How many pieces of stones have you carried in the construction centers vis-a-vis having a job that is protecting you from this kind of precarious work? So platform jobs, they are there. I've talked about them. I don't know who is going to use an Uber from here to their home. So those are the workers. Those are the jobs that we are talking about that Dr. Mary Kinyanjui profoundly talked about, their social solidarity. However, it needs another pinch to reach to a level of digital advocacy. So in the next slides, allow me to talk about the profound works, for example, women and informal economy in urban Africa, moving from margins to the center. So what are we addressing? So majority of employment opportunities today are being created in the informal sector, 81%. Youth characterize many of them. However, there is weak labor representation, there is no occupational safety and health, personal protective equipment, they are lacking. However, digital transformation presents new opportunities for labor advocacy and policy engagement. So instead of reaching out to the senator, David should have picked his phone, and when Parliament calls for public participation, the Boda Boda Association makes a memorandum. That's how we are saying. It's that simple, other than just depending on parliamentarians only. So how this paper was done, there was a complexity theory. In the interest of time, let me skip that. The relational markets theory that Dr. Mary Kinyanjui used in discussing informal economies that are shaped by networks, relationship, collective action, Utu Ubuntu. Can we say that? Utu Ubuntu. Let me move forward faster so that we see how far is too far. How far is too far in terms of these policies that we are talking about? So when I ask that question, can we have the next slide? Yeah, how far is too far? So there is a disintegration that is there. Remember, David had an accident in town. Do we have the International Labour Organization and policy frameworks established, including Universal Declaration of Human Rights? They are there. Do we have regional governance system, the African Union, the tripartite arrangements, that is the government, the employers' organization, workers' organization, civil society? Do we have the national and legal institution? We have the Labor Institution Act of 2007. However, the social, cultural, and economic structures, those are the ones that are bringing us down. Dependency, skills mismatch. And coming here, I'm coming from a skills forum at KICC, where today, young people are invited to talk about skills, to avoid skills mismatch in future. So, global business participation. Let's talk about the underreporting. Most of us in the research sector will confirm that there is limited data. There are reforms that have been proposed by government, but they are not. They are weakened by weak enforcement and structural inequalities. And artificial intelligence is here with us. We are moving towards more digital places. So the more we need AI-driven jobs, the more we need green jobs, so that the informal sector undergoes this evolution that the world is going through. So as I summarize now, in the next slide, these policy gaps have been highlighted by Dr. Mary Kinyanjui. And the digital advocacy, I talked about a pinch of salt, a pinch of sugar. It is here. Integrating these digital campaigns. Do we move to X Spaces? Do we go to Instagram? Do we go to Facebook? All these platforms. Do we use WhatsApp channels? All this. And these companies and brands are mentioning them as examples here. So targeted policy messages, so that as policies are being made, the policy making process makes room for accommodation of views from as many actors as possible, including private labor institutions such as private recruitment agencies. We have the youth and women, so that we all move from the margins to the center of economic governance. I see Mr. Kahinga is standing, and I wish to end it there and just go to the last. These policy recommendations, the last one here. So let's engage more young people. They have very bright. So there's a National Digital Labor Advocacy Program that is to be established, so that we can all bring our collective voices. Ubuntu that has been proposed. Also regulate the digital platforms, because if we contribute for David, so that Consolata can get medical support, the treasurer disappears with the money.
Thank you.
So we need to regulate those platforms and also create more digital advocacy, so that Kenya informal economy will move from informal to formal. Thank you.
Wow, Jacqueline, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jacqueline, there. Wow, her presentation, her paper is entitled Employment Policies Towards Global Business Participation in the Informal Economy in Kenya. I repeat that. The paper by Jacqueline Kamau is Employment Policies Towards Global Business Participation in the Informal Economy in Kenya. Wow, thought-provoking, food for thought. I wish the people of Nairobi City County were here, so that they can actually get these things and see how they feed into what they do every day. Without much ado, I want to invite Salome Kimani. Salome Kimani. Is Salome still around? If Salome is still not ready, I'm going to invite our colleagues who are joining us online. Janet Kimeto, Chidoko Kleinos, and Jim Tafazua. Their presentation is Gender Dynamics and Patterns of Informality within Cross-Border Trade in East and Southern Africa, the cases of Kenya and Zimbabwe.
Good afternoon. I think I'm audible.
Yes, who is, introduce yourself. Where is, this is who?
I'm Dr. Jim, along with Dr. Chidoko and Janet Kimeto.
Okay.
So let me share slides.
So you have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim Tafazwa. Dr. Jim Tafazwa, thank you very much. You have 5 minutes. After those presentations, I'll invite Professor Paul Kamau from the Institute of Development Studies, the University of Nairobi, who is the Director of Research. Okay, Dr. Jim, the floor is yours. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. Our discussion, our start was centered on gender dynamics and patterns of informality within cross-border trade. That was a comparison between Kenya and Zimbabwe. And authors, corresponding authors being Dr. Kleinos Chidoko from Great Zimbabwe University in Zimbabwe, and myself, Middle State University, as a lecturer in the Department of Accounting Sciences, and Dr. Chidoko from Finance and Economics, whilst Dr. Janet Kimeto is from University of Kabianga in Kenya. This was necessitated by sharing of ideas between Kenya and Zimbabwe, so that is why we have incorporated Dr. Kimeto to share some insights on Kenya's perspective with regards to from the margins to the center, Nairobi, Kenya, which is a theme for this conference. Without wasting time, what is our inspiration for this start? You know, Dr. Mary Njeri research defines informal economy characterized by vulnerability of African women or experiences encountered by African women because of their gender. So, theoretical and empirical contributions have shaped how the gender and informality in Africa in three key ways. The first one, we need to justify the margins. According to this, the work of Dr. Kijanjui's work, women in informal economy in Africa demonstrates how female traders use collaborative social ties, normally rooted from African Ubuntu, to address that. And moreover, another element is that from Kinjui's work is that she challenged exclusionary colonial era urban planning, which frequently criminalized informal traders in Africa, and also economic agents as well, which is a vital tool to curb marginalized people. Moving forward, so this one is basically centered on three critical issues: informal cross-border, women traders, Africa context, and of course, this will be a comparison will be discussed with the aid of comparison between Kenya and Zimbabwe. Why Kenya and Zimbabwe? Because Kenya and Zimbabwe, understand, within Africa, they are fastest growing economies and also represent important regional trade corridors in Eastern and Southern Africa. That is why Kenya and Zimbabwe have been selected for this course. Why women dominance? According to previous studies, it was shown that in terms of constitution of women in Kenya is 50.2%, and in Zimbabwe, which is 52.3%, which is almost near, and it seems there's a gender balance between male and female in terms of contribution within their respective countries. Why women dominance as well? It offers flexible income generating opportunities while allowing them to balance family responsibilities. Gendered vulnerabilities in Kenya and Zimbabwe. From empirical review, it was noted that 70% are informal traders, women in both countries, that is Zimbabwe and Kenya, which in some instances limit earnings and their mobility to access to capital. And moreover, legal framework, they are not conducive for their well-being. Therefore, it is against this background that this study analyze the gender patterns within with the scope of Kenya and Zimbabwe. Study. Right now, phase theory. This is, it tries to explain why women participate in formal trade, weighing cost versus benefit. If you say rational theory, we are trying to say people that are executing their task, they are executing certain issues after weighing the cost versus the benefit. In some instances, they may involve in formal, but for this cause, 70% plus they are involved in informal because they weigh the costs associated with setting up informal sector versus
Dr. Jim, you have 3 minutes.
Derived from
Dr. Jim, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much.
You'll find a way of condensing your presentation. It's a very powerful presentation, but time is not on our side. So you have 3 minutes to condense that presentation.
Thank you very
Thank you.
Thank you very much. In terms of our methodology, final studies, most studies were eliminated due to inconsistencies, leaving 85 ready for the use in this publication. And we discovered that out of 1,261, 85 were found to be useful in this study. The reason being, we have selected all English articles, all relevant, that is focusing on Southern Africa, particularly in Kenya and Zimbabwe, which is a limitation to this study, which necessitates future studies to pursue their studies stemming from this. And results are that drivers, the following were found to be drivers of women participation in the informal sector. That can be poverty, unemployment, household responsibilities, and market opportunities. These were found to be drivers for being involved in informal sector. Then the following were found to be challenges. And challenges in their involvement were found to be corruption, harassment, border delays, high transport costs, and other costs associated with the informal sector. And in terms of comparison between Kenya and Zimbabwe, the following challenges were premised. Better logistics in Kenya as compared to Zimbabwe, there is a poor infrastructure. In Kenya, we have noticed digital finance problems, whereas in Zimbabwe we have cash economy problem challenges, and relatively Kenya is better than Zimbabwe in terms of stability in economy, and also in terms of border clearance. South Africa, Kenya seems to be better than Zimbabwe. From these findings, the following recommendations were made: to have the simplified custom procedures and legal frameworks, and also that can be cascaded to different vulnerable groups and the marginalized people, and also to strengthen digital trade, also to expand financial inclusion strategies, also to improve border infrastructure, and of course protect women traders from vulnerabilities. In conclusion, from this start, it concluded that women remain central to African trade, and it was also concluded that informality creates opportunities and also risk as well, but however, there should be some safeguards to encounter such risk, so that we convert risk into opportunities. Then institutional reforms with regards to these two countries is being called for, and of course there should be inclusion in terms of policies and which promotes sustainability livelihoods. This is the end of my presentation.
Yes, you're done, Dr. Jim Tafazwa.
Yes, I'm done.
Wow, thank you very much. Thank you very much. When was that research done?
It was this year.
It was
in April.
Okay, so it is something that is still very current. So these recommendations are still recommendations that you believe should be looked into. Thank you very much. I want to believe that your presentation was actually on behalf of your two colleagues, Dr. Janet Kimeto and Chidoko Kleinos. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. But if they are online,
please.
if they are
Yes,
online,
we want to present.
thank you. I can see Janet there. Thank you, Janet. I'll give you an opportunity to make one or two contributions. But I want to invite, before I open the floor for questions to the scholars and researchers who are joining us virtually, I want to invite Professor Paul Kamau from the Institute of Development Studies, the University of Nairobi. He is the Director of Research, and that is where Dr. Njeri Kinyanjui spent most of her academic years, active academic years, in the halls of the University of Nairobi at the Institute of Development Studies, and that is where she retired from the day-to-day teaching at university. Professor, thank you very much. Technical people, can we hear Professor? Prof, you can use my microphone.
Hi, I think it's not working now. Honestly, I don't envy you, our MC for this afternoon, because of the task ahead of you and the many presentations that were or are lined up for the session. So thank you very much, Mr. Kainga Ukwemba, for the opportunity to just highlight some of the issues that have come up in this session that we are calling Urban Economies, Trade and Informal Sector. Definitely speaking after Mary made her presentation, then we had Josephine Tori, we had Alicia Osa, and we had Dr. Jimo, and also, last but not least, Dr. Josephine Jacqueline Kamau, very eloquent, very able, and very forthright with the state and the element of urban economies, trade and informal sector, and resonating very well with the work that Dr. Mary Kinyanjui has done in this space. So I cannot purport to be summarizing or even highlighting all the issues because, as you see, my name was not in the list of speakers, but nonetheless, Mr. Kainga decided to give me a chance just to say a few words about Dr. Mary Kinyanjui and her work in this space of urban economy, trade, and informal sector. For sure, most of our economies are dominated by this informality. And the question in the scholarly discourse has been, do we need to revise or to formalize everything in order to bring to the mainstream economy? Two, what is the role of the informal sector? Can it be supported in the state in which it is? Remember, in 2007, my first publication I did with Dr. Mary Kinyanjui was on trade, production and trade in Kenya, published as a book chapter. So, observing all the protocols that my predecessors have raised, allow me to say that it's a sector that is marred with a lot of challenges. One is that it is dominated by women. In almost all the sectors of the operation, you'll find women dominating. Increasingly, we are seeing more and more youth getting into this sector of urban economies, be it in trade or in production. And therefore, we cannot see it and start demonizing this sector. It is very important for the development of our economies because it plays an important role in employment creation. There has been a lot of arguments about the nature of employment that is created in this sector. Is it what we would call, in conventional thinking, decent work? But you'll agree with me that it's better half of a loaf than none at all. So the idea has been, how can we improve the employment that is in this sector? A lot of issue, and I just want to pick one on social protection, or sometimes labor security, is something that we need to continue working on, and where Dr. Mary Kinyanjui has left, we need to see how this can be enhanced. The Institute for Development Studies is very privileged to have gotten some work through the NSSF from the World Bank to see how we can bring the informal sector workers, particularly the youth, to start thinking about their old age. In many cases, the social capital that one brings when you are actively involved in the production is the only security that remains. But how many of us in the informal sector consider saving for our old age? The figures are alarming. So we need to look at that, and IDS is working on this famous Nyota program in order to see how to bring more and more youth in this space. So it's about enhancing youth to enroll for pension savings as a form of social protection. So that's one area that I would say we need to move forward the work that Dr. Kinyanjui has done, because in terms of statistics, in terms of challenges and opportunities that are there, Dr. Mary Kinyanjui has done a lot of work, very comprehensive, in order to bring this to the knowledge. Number two is, how can we improve the working condition, especially for the informal sector workers? It remains unclear. We've all seen the problem, but what could be the solution, right? How do we enhance, especially for our young ladies, that even when they go on maternity while working in the informal sector, they don't lose their job. They have a way of cushioning them, right? So that they can, because it's a role that they have to play. So enhancing decent work in this sector would be very important. And this would be critical with regard to the theme of this symposium, that we're bringing from the margin to the center. We need to speak for the voiceless. And that's the role I see Dr. Kinyanjui has done very well. One, not only sitting in the ivory tower conducting research, but conducting research in tandem with the research subject. If you worked with Njeri in Kamukunji, in many other places, Mr. Dawade will tell you that she's like a common. Many of us will be there, but we look strangers. Two, her writing and her work really resonates with majority of the audience, because you may look at a book and start wondering, what is the author telling us? Her writing is simple, to the point, and very impactful. Finally, it's the way she has associated, and you could tell even in her speech here, that she's taking culture and tradition, modernizing with the knowledge, and still improving in creating that body of knowledge that is very impactful, right? So she's not forgotten her culture, in spite of her exposure and experience as a global researcher. Her roots remain very clear. Two, she's a strong believer that we need to work together in the Ubuntu society or in Ubuntu spirit. So,
Prof, I'm putting the microphone down so that you don't rush your sentiments.
No, I don't want to be standing between the audience until anyway.
No.
Thank you very much. Anyway, the spirit of togetherness, because when we work together, we are more likely to succeed than each one of us is competing on their own. And that, especially in her work, the element of solidarity, the element of togetherness is very clear. In her presentation this afternoon, you could even see how she grew up, how accountability was promoted, how the social settings facilitated cohesion and togetherness in working. Two, Mary will be able to, we are sitting here thinking about many things, but when she will be amidst ourselves, she's seeing a research opportunity, right? So if you are traveling in a matatu, you had the mention of many quotes that she has taken. Some of us will drive very angry because the matatu in front of you is obstructing, right? To her, that is a research subject. And we had many of them, right? Be patient, right? Don't be in a hurry. I remember one time I was driving Mary and she would tell me, vehicles are not like river. Please be patient. They will definitely get you space, so don't struggle. Mary is one of those people who looks at every element around her and would come up with critical and impactful research. And that's why you find even today, while still in the US, she is writing now on social work, on how social care is taken out there. So coming back to Mary and her work, I want to confirm that Mary was in IDS. It is the Institute for Development Studies because we practice development, right? I know there's this confusion of whether it's off or for. We are for development. We look at policy for promoting development. Those who study for a advisory role, they are the Institute of Development Studies. So looking at the work that Mary has done, we see the element of decolonizing approach for knowledge generation, and this is something that she eloquently and ably discussed during her valedictory event that we had last week at the University of Nairobi. She is the evidence of resilience, and to tell us that in every situation we should not be crying that we are not being provided for with opportunity. Whether male or female, we should not sit back and adhere to that gender misalignment that says you can only be destined to this role or to this particular path in a society. She has, in her own way, shown the path. She is a first in many, many ways, including being the firstborn. Am I right, Josephine? Right? So from that particular path in her family, she has continued to lead. And many of us have seen that leadership. She may not be the most outspoken, right? The most vocal person in a crowd, but her traits will tell you a lot. Finally, she reminds me of this book by Wangari Maathai called Unbowed. And in this book, Wangari Maathai talks about the hummingbird. A person, or what the hummingbird did when there was fire in the forest, was to use its beak, as small as it was, to fetch water to come and quell the fire. And all the animals were laughing, asking, "What are you doing with your small beak? How much time do you need to go to the river to bring water before you can put off this fire?" And the hummingbird just said, "I'm only doing what I can do." Mary is a clear testimony of sticking to her space, doing what she can do, and then, hence, the celebration we are having in this symposium to celebrate the much impactful work that she has done over the last 19 years that she was in the Institute for Development Studies, and even after she transitioned, because she never retired, and I keep on telling her this, she's still working. She has just attested here that she's still studying social work. That will give her another line, and before long, I look at 2030 when we can come here and celebrate her more. So on this occasion of celebrating Dr. Mary Kinyanjui, I want to add my voice to what most of us have said since yesterday, that she deserves our celebration because she has done a lot, and from her own effort, in her small ways, but the work is speaking for itself. Allow me to stop there, and thank you very much for listening to me. My name is Paul Kamau from IDS, University of Nairobi. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you very much, Professor. Professor. Thank you. That's Professor Paul Kamau from the Institute of Development Studies, the University of Nairobi. He is the Director of Research at that institute. Prof, thank you very much. It was an ambush, but you really summarized what came through from those presentations. Always a teacher, always a professor. Thank you very much. Now, Prof says that Dr. Mary njeri Kinyanjui is the embodiment of resilience. He says that she's a pace setter. He says that the many things that she has actually done in the informal sector, the challenge is there anything that needs to be done to that sector, or it can still work the way it is, but if you are to look into the players or the practitioners in that space, what does it mean to a matatu person, a conductor, a makanga, when we speak of social protection or labor security? How does the scholarship that comes from the Institute of Development Studies at the University of Nairobi help this matatu driver or the makanga, so that just like any other person, they have labor security and social protection? Let me just celebrate a distinguished scholar who has been very quiet. She's seated in this room yesterday and today. She's a scholar of anthropology. She'll be presenting tomorrow. Dr. Lydia Maura, the anthropologist. Where is Dr. Lydia, the anthropologist? to wave. He's left. Eh? No, I just wanted to celebrate you. You'll be giving your presentation tomorrow. Yeah, she's a scholar in anthropology. She's presenting tomorrow. Now, I want to open the floor. I'll give the microphone for 3 questions. In the meantime, I'll invite a gentleman from the community. It's called Zakaria Wairegi. Where is Zakaria Wairegi? Is Zakaria Wairegi? Oh. Okay, so can we have 1 or 2 questions? Our colleagues online are still there. If you have any question to pose, I'll give you the microphone. In the meantime, I want to invite my sister Basra. Basra, I'll give you 3 minutes. You've been taking copious notes. So should I give you 5 minutes? Exactly 5 minutes. You have a watch. Yeah? Oh, okay. You want to use the roving microphone, or you want to go? You want to use that one? Okay, super. So you start very briefly by introducing yourself, and then you tease a few things that have come out from this conversation.
Okay, thank you very much, Hinga, for the beautiful job. I think it's not easy to be a moderator in such a beautiful function. I wanted to ask a question, but now I will hold on, now that I have been given 5 minutes to make a presentation.
Pose the question if the presenter is around, they'll respond. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My name is Basra Ali. I was a student at IDS, Institute for Development Studies, and I was privileged to have been taught by the lady we are celebrating today, Dr. Mary Kinyanjui. And I would actually want to call her professor because she befits that title. So my presentation will be basically on a concept that Professor Kamau has just pointed out right now on social protection. And I wanted to bring out what we are doing in our work and how it relates to the concepts that Dr. Mary Kinyanjui has been writing on. I founded an organization called Women in the Borderlands, which is a policy institution that basically looks at the women in Kenyan borders, but of course, as you talk about borders, it flips into the other countries, and mostly with the pastoralists and arid and semi-arid regions of Kenya. And we call it from the white paper, for this particular presentation, I will call it from the white papers to the brown fields, the desert plains, and the boots on the ground, extending the Utu Ombutu concepts in the pastoralists and the arid and semi-arid regions of Kenya. Dr. Mary Kinyanjui talks about her vast work, her work in gender, in philanthropy, on the Jua Kali sector, and specifically the linkages between our economies, our small-scale economies, and its linkages to our political will. The political aspect does not come out very strongly, but many of her writings, to me, has come out to actually show the linkages between our political settings, our political milestone as a country, and its impact on the social protections of the Kenyan people, and particularly the upcoming wide extension of the youth people in Kenya. Yesterday, I was in the Africa Skills Up session that is taking place in the KICC, which is celebrating the Youth Day. And what was coming out very strongly to me was that actually we had a whole setup of where clothes and other booths were being presented and showcased. And my question in that, when I was leaving the center, was what is it that our youth produce that we can actually set? Because when I'm doing all my technology work, the people who support me to do that work on the internet, the techno savvy, I was not seeing it in the exhibitions of the Africa Skill Up, which is going on and which is closing today. It was really unfortunate when I left that place to actually realize that whatever the Kenyan people are doing is just actually being considered as Jua Kali, even when it is actually a digital world global support system that the whole world is looking up to. So to look at specifically Dr. Mary Kinyanjui's work today, from the white papers of what the productions we have, she has actually tried to link it up to the brownfields and the boots on the ground by actually looking at the Jua Kali sector in the urban setup. My flip side of that discussion is, then what happens to the pastoralist communities, to other people or other Kenyans who are not in the main urban centers? And from my own analysis, the biggest work, the biggest back-breaking work is being done by women in the rural areas of Kenya. From the fishing exposés that we have had in the regions of Lake Victoria, to the marginalization and actually social disintegration of the women in the northeastern region, is actually a realization that Dr. Mary Kinyanjui has not only been advocating for what we need to advance as local people, but actually getting us to really focus on the actions that need to be taken on the ground. So what specifically does that have on our impact, on our lives today? Whatever Professor Kamau has mentioned on the social protection, how do we ask our youth to prepare for their pension when they are actually struggling with what needs to be done will come out? So thank you very much for that presentation. And my question has already been posed.
Basra, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. You actually lived within the timeline. In fact, even spent little time than I had allotted you. So thank you very much. Yes. Thank you. And thank you for that. You know, we talk of that Utu feminism and this of Utu Ubuntu feminism. And Ubuntu itself is about solidarity. So a student of Dr. Mary Njeri Kinyanjui coming to support her on this very auspicious occasion. So thank you very much, Basra. That is solidarity. And Professor there from the Institute of Development Studies, again, a peer and a colleague from the University of Nairobi, coming to support and to be here with Dr. Mary Njeri Kinyanjui on this auspicious occasion when we are celebrating her enduring legacy. And a former student of Dr. Mary Njeri Kinyanjui there. That is solidarity, Ubuntu. Thank you very much, our friends and colleagues and peers, researchers, scholars, academicians who are able to join us from the rest of the world. I can see Professor Joseli Maria da Silva there. Thank you very much, Prof. I can see Dr. Alicia Hossa there. Thank you very much. I can see Professor Martina Koff from the University of Vienna, Austria. Thank you very much. I can see Dr. Gay Presby. Thank you very much. I can see my gentleman there, Atunga with the tumbler, Atunga Atuti. Thank you very much. And each and every one of you, asanteni sana. Let us meet up tomorrow, same time, because tomorrow is even bigger and we are going to open it to a plenary. We have Janet Kimeto, thank you very much. We have Anne Kinyanjui, asante sana. And those ones who are here in the hall, thank you very, very much. I want us to bring the curtains down this evening by inviting Ma'am, Dr. Nyambura Njoroge, Reverend from the World Council of Churches. I want you to come and help us with the closing prayer, and then we can have a cup of tea. Let us meet up tomorrow, same time, for even a bigger celebration of Dr. Mary Njeri Kinyanjui. Thank you very much. Reverend Dr. Nyambura Njoroge, she's actually visiting from Geneva. Thank you, Ma'am, for making it from there to come and be with us on this occasion when we are celebrating Dr. Mary Njeri Kinyanjui. She gave a very powerful presentation today in the morning.
Thank you very much for the opportunity and everything that has happened today. Actually, I'm at home because Kenya is home and Geneva has been the place of work. And since now I'm retired, I spend half of the time here and half of the time there. And so this is home, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. We can rise for the word of prayer. Our loving God, we want to thank you very much for being with us the whole day, for feeding spirit, our mind and body in this place. We are grateful for your daughter, Jerry, and all those who have surrounded her, those whom she named, those who have been present online and in this room. We thank you for the solidarity. We thank you for the resources that have been shared so that we can be in this place, that we can interrogate the things that have gone wrong, the things that have gone right, and asking ourselves, what next? We are trusting in you. We feel that you have reassured us hope that if we continue in this conversation, we will be able to come up with solutions to address particularly issues that are affecting our children, our young people, and the people who feel forgotten, marginalized, and voiceless, even when they speak so loud, and we choose not to hear their voices and their cry. These are difficult times for many families, struggling with illnesses, school fees, food on the table, and most of us in here are able to have most of those basic needs. And yet we know the millions out there who do not enjoy the goodness of this life.